Howdy. And you can tell I'm recording these back to back to back, but I'm not necessarily finishing these. Today I'm going to talk about the secrets of great mystery and suspense fiction. I'm just generally going to talk about mystery and suspense fiction and also about watching, listening to lectures that give you something to read. Because that's an issue I have. I could keep reading the same great books over and over again, and actually I have no problem with that. However, I should look around me. There's probably many other things I would enjoy. So that's what I tried to look for. I'm a subscriber to the Great Courses Plus, but I also still buy their lectures. Always buy them on sale. The Secrets of Great Mystery and Suspense Fiction is a nice set. David Schmid goes through starting with Edgar Allan Poe and his, three stories that really started detective fiction. And of course, he wrote a lot of suspense fiction as well, but that's more kind of in the horror vein. The Purloined Letter, of course, is a classic. The other two, The Murders in the Rue Morgue, and I can't remember the other one, they are notable for the detective that shows up in all three of these stories. The Purloined Letter has a plot element that is used by many. I've seen Agatha Christie use it, I've seen others use it, and it has to do with a hidden letter that nobody can find, and how it was hidden, and how the detective finds it, as I said, is a plot element that's used a lot. So I'm not going to tell you what it is. That said, I want to talk about what does the lecturer do in this set of lectures, and why is it worth listening to. So part of this is he gives a history of how this literature changed over time, and how certain, I could say trends, I could say fads, how certain developments occurred in this genre. Many times when we're talking about literature, the focus is on prestige literature. And I don't want to denigrate that approach. There is a reason certain prestige literature is prestige literature. It's not without value, and a lot of it is very enjoyable even today. That said, Spenser's Fairy Queen, I have heard of current people, who really enjoyed it. Some of this, it's really just for academics. It's not for current enjoyment. Fine. Secrets of Great Mystery and Suspense Fiction. Most of these books are still enjoyable, though some are not so enjoyable anymore because of certain elements in the stories that make them not quite attractive. Actually, I'm going to switch to the next one, The Thin Man. So the reason I like getting these sets of lectures is the lecturer will highlight good works to indicate the specific trend he's talking about, certain development. So one of these is switching from, the Sherlock Holmes type of mystery, puzzle mysteries, to more hard-boiled detective. So The Thin Man is the start of a series of books by Dashiell Hammett, and it's standalone, fine, of the particular characters of Nick and Nora Charles. And, they're supposed to be wisecracking and this, that, and the other, and solve mysteries. I haven't ever seen the movies, so I do want to indicate that. But I do have a problem. There's a lot about this that it's just not really all that appealing. Let's see. No, I gave it 3 stars. I mean, it is well written. I'll give it that. But basically, all of the characters are contemptible, except maybe for Mr. and Mrs. Charles. Okay? They are drunk, they are out of control, and I don't find any of this appealing. There's the Winants and, the main ditzy girl character. There is, supposedly all these men love her and this, that, and the other, and isn't she endearing for being such a nutball? No. It's not cute at all. Not at her age even. She's not even young enough that it's an excuse for the behavior. All of the different characters are just so disgusting. Um, Now maybe in the movies it works a little better. So this is one of the issues with reading a book versus watching a movie or a video is there's definitely distance between you and the screen, whether it's TV or movies, whatever. But for a book, it's in your head, okay? Even when it's audiobook, and I did this as an audiobook, to a large extent, you are picturing the characters in your head. And so you are thinking more about, would I really put up with people like this? No, I would not. The trolls are pretty okay. They are, how shall we, you could say they're cool. And there's a lot of adventures you could center around Nick and Nora. But some of the wisecracking is not really all that witty. This is no Jane Austen. But let me go back to this series of lectures because there's plenty of other books that I haven't read yet. Because, yes, I've read all of Sherlock Holmes, all of Agatha Christie, well, most of it. They keep coming up with new stuff, and I just don't want to go there. Um, I have certain authors that I've read a lot of. I haven't read all of Poe, and I actually should go back and read more of the Poe stories. I know I had read Murders in the Rue Morgue, and I know I read Purloined Letter, but the third one, which I can never, like something, the Mystery of Marie Roget, something like that. I've never read that one, so that's one I want to go back and read. And Poe is a great short story, and this is something to think about, novels versus short stories. A lot of this fiction started out, I mean, Edgar Allan Poe was basically a short story writer, and yes, he wrote his poetry as well. But what he was so good at, I mean, The Cask of Amontillado, love that story, The Telltale Heart. Um, just great, great short stories. What they did to make those Vincent Price movies. In any case, uh, David Schmid goes through the development, the dime novels. So this is what's interesting to me is how do you flesh out a mystery enough? And Agatha Christie, of course, wrote a lot of short story mysteries. Witness for the Prosecution is a really good one. Um, but most of her short stories aren't so well known. I liked her collection that she did with Hercule Poirot, The Labors of Hercules, which are kind of thematically around the legendary uh, tasks of Hercules, but has Hercule Poirot doing them. And that one's an interesting one in how it works out because the one she did for the Augean Stables is one I often use. It also reminds one of the affair of the necklace in Marie Antoinette. Anyway, but going back to these kind of lecture sets, I've created a to read list because of this series of lectures. And that's the great thing. And I'm going to pass this on to whether it's the library sale or the company bookshelf or whatever for other people to try for themselves because he really shows how the different traditions fed on each other and how this has spread worldwide as a genre. So I was talking about prestige literature. Genre literature, such as science fiction, such as mystery, and romance, are looked down upon. Fantasy, looked down upon the prestige literature. However, when you have stuff like mystical realism or magical realism going into the prestige literature, and it's obviously influenced by fantasy, though they will pretend they're not. It is kind of interesting because now you start picking up on clues because the prestige authors have read genre fiction themselves for their own enjoyment and will steal, borrow, whatever, use the elements that keep a reader's interest. Why not? Because the awards will get you only so far. You actually have to sell copies. Anyway, that's it for this time.